Hey there! Ever since the Blood Elves came to World of Warcraft in 2007, one of the most requested race-class combos has been that of the Blood Elf Druid, which, sure, it is no surprise that modern Blizzard has been making it known that they would like to open up many class and race combinations. A lot of the fanbase, however, has had an outcry about this as they feel like it breaks the world immersion for these unlocks. This same outcry could be why the newest race, the Earthen, was changed. Originally, they were getting every class but Druids, Demon Hunters, and Evokers. However, late in the beta process, they removed the option for Earthen to be Death Knights. And now, with the announcement of Drakthir class combos, the fact that they are missing Druids, Paladins, and Shaman, which all have differing lore arguments for each one, notably Paladin due to tier being the strongest of the three, most would agree. It is up in the air even if Blood Elves would ever get Druids or more classes, so let's talk about some avenues in which they could specifically get Druid. Of course, there's always the go-to argument of, well, the player characters are individuals of the race, so their entire culture doesn't have to do X for an individual to choose X path, especially when we are these fabled heroes that have taken down gods. One of the biggest misconceptions, however, about Blood Elves as a race is that they do not have any interest in nature. While we do not know exactly when in the timeline the Highborne were exiled, we do know why they are exiled. At some point after the Sundering, Tyrande and Malfurion decided that arcane magic was the worst possible thing to happen to Night Elven society, and they led the outlawing of arcane magic entirely among their people. The Night Elves who still wanted to use, or believed that arcane magic was a fundamental right to them, the Highborne then left Night Elven society as a whole. The largest grouping of them would find their way to Eversong Woods, and eventually create the Sunwell that would turn them into High Elves. Not every High Elf was a mage, or even the slightest bit of a practitioner of arcane, but they all felt that arcane magic should not be withheld from them, as it was the sole reason the Night Elf civilization took off like it had, and expanded almost the entire supercontinent before the Sundering. An important thing to note here is that the exiling of the Highborne happens after the War of the Ancients, a war that had several Night Elven Druids in it, which already gives us our first lore-friendly explanation for Blood Elf Druids, and that's simply that Druids who were with their Highborne friends and family members because they didn't agree with the ban of arcane magic. The next lore window, which is the one that is most often discussed, is the want for Blood Elves to heal their dead scar, the chasm-like path of pure necrotic magic that pollutes the land throughout both the Ghostlands and Eversong Woods. Some of you may be questioning if druidic magic could even do anything about the damage done. The answer to that is yes. Druid magic does in fact reverse necrotic damage to the land. As of the Cataclysm's world updates within the Western Plaguelands, we see a group of druids from the Cenarian Circle who admit to healing the necrotic damage that was present in the land, a necrotic damage that is the exact same as what is currently in Thas'alah. This creates both a want to heal their land and the means to do it, all through druidism. This leads to a follow-up question that most then ask. Why not just have the Tauren or the Trolls even use their druidic magic to heal their lands? Why would Blood Elves take up the druidic arts when their allies could do it for them? The answer is quite simple, really. If there is one thing the High Elves and Blood Elves love as a people, it's the study of magic. Not to mention pretty much every single one of them has some kind of arrogance or pride ingrained in their being. This alone would make them be too proud to allow another race to heal their homeland. Which then leads us into my personal favorite lore window. Eversong Woods itself is embedded in a spell of Perpetual Spring. Originally, the spell also served as a barrier that weakened the magic of all non-elves within its borders, provided them with protection from magical detection from the Legion, and it also served as a good defense against any who would harm them. They erected rune stones on the spell's border in order to increase its strength. The rune stones originally were also meant to be druidic in nature. However, this was retconned a bit later on in World of Warcraft. But what is still important about them is that the stones are still linked to the Sunwell and to Thas'alah. Thas'alah is essentially a high elven world tree, the oldest tree within their forest. When the Sunwell was formed, its magic ended up seeping into the roots of Thas'alah. It is technically Thas'alah's magic that allows their kingdom to be in a state of perpetual spring. This link to the runestones and Thas'alah empowered every high elven spell with nature magic, on top of the magic they already used. Players today actually have a piece of Thas'alah with them in-game. The Forest Riders, who are an organization of rangers, hunters, and nature-loving elves among their people, took a branch from Thas'alah, dipped it into the Sunwell, and then crafted that branch into the marksmanship hunter artifact weapon, Thas'alah. Something that was unclear to the elves at the time was that Thas'alah was the anchor of their protective barrier, and the first thing Arthas does during his sacking of the kingdom is chop the tree down. He then constructs the Death Home on top of the base of the chopped-down walled tree. Typically speaking, however, in World of Warcraft, when a race works very closely with a walled tree, or has a strong usage of nature magic, they often have a sect of their population that would become druids, making it not too much of a stretch to say that a group of Blood Elven Druids exists. In Silvermoon even, they were just almost wiped out when Arthas destroyed Thas'alah. Out of all the possible class race unlocks that have happened in Dragonflight, and have yet to happen, Blood Elven Druids have one of the strongest backing behind them, and that's not even mentioning things like the Botanists in TBC, or their study of the Arkandor, their sister elves, the Nightborn, which is the tree that only exists because of a pure and perfect balance of nature and arcane magic. Without that tree, all Nightborn would basically be doomed to die. These elves are now bound together through a political marriage with Lor'themar and Thalisra. After all, the society from both is fueled by arcane and nature magic, until they are attacked by the Scourge. And even after that attack, the nature-loving Forest Riders still remain. But what do you guys think of these potentials? Let me know.